Okay, so this is the 1996 Tomb Raider. For those of you who are wondering why it's not a Runescape video, well, it is going to be related to RuneScape. I'm going to be talking about RuneScape, but I didn't have any kind of background clips, kind of like what I sometimes do if I'm talking about Wilderness Revitalization, which this is a part in. I'll have me fighting Chaos Elemental, or last time I had me fighting Araxor and Raxi. I didn't have any of those clips, so you guys are going to watch Tomb Raider. So, yeah, so I'm saying so a lot. But another reason, just quick, another reason is because I'm currently uploading a Leather Pecan video. One of you guys wanted to see that. Shook, and which is, I personally I thought it was weird at first because I think he was also the one who wanted a max tier Pecan video. So he's kind of, we went from max tier to leather. We're flip flopping. We're on either ends of the spectrum here, so it's kind of funny. But yeah, Tomb Raider 1996. This is the video game that got me started on video games. Little Shiz, 8, 9 years old, playing this video game with his dad. This is kind of what started it all for me, my love for video games. So another reason, if you guys need another one, I'm currently uploading that. Like I said, I'm uploading that leather video, and my internet not so good when uploading. So yeah, Tomb Raider doesn't require the internet, and I haven't played it in about 6 or 7 years or 8 years, and even then, back then, I only played like the first level or kind of messed around a little bit. Never actually try to finish it. So I thought you guys might also enjoy a break from RuneScape. I mean, a video game's a video game. You guys can have fun. So, if you guys do want kind of like a live commentary type of this video series, it wouldn't take priority over RuneScape videos. I'd still kind of try to keep my relative every 2-3 days upload a RuneScape video, but I might upload a Tomb Raider video in between that time. So if you guys want more uploading and you wouldn't mind watching kind of like a Tomb Raider live commentary series, go ahead and let me know, and I'll go ahead and do that. I already have live commentary. This had live commentary, but I basically just cut it out so you guys can hear me talk about what I want to talk about now. So, what do I want to talk about? Well, hopefully this time when I talk about it, it's going to go a little bit quicker. Last time, and right now it doesn't look like that, but last time I recorded this video, it was 46 minutes long, which is, that's pretty long. I don't think any of you guys would have been able to make it through that of just me nonstop talking. So what do I want to talk about? Well, I was reading a forum post on like dynamic weather and that type of stuff because Jagex, they're developing like a weather system, etc., something like that. And I kind of got thinking about it. At first, I was kind of like, I mean, RuneScape isn't a first-person game, so I mean, it wouldn't really make it more immersive. It wouldn't really, in my opinion, add anything. I mean, yeah, a few players would be like, oh my god, look, it's raining. Look at how realistic this game is. But RuneScape, let's be honest, hasn't really had a whole, I don't know, great run at being realistic, a track record of being realistic. So, yeah, I kind of got thinking about it for a second, and then I remembered another video game which actually I think took priority over Tomb Raider for me when I was a kid. I think saying Tomb Raider got me started on video games. Tomb Raider got me started on computer games. But what got me started on video games is Pokemon. I was a huge Pokemon nerd. I used to go to the events. I think it was like the 25th anniversary event or whatever, 15th. I got like the rare dogs, the 3 legendary dogs, 3 legendary birds, Lugia, Ho-Ho, Celebi, etc. I got all those. I loved Pokemon when I was a kid. And I started remembering different types of Pokemon mechanics and certain, I don't know, I guess you call them spawn rates, but that's probably not the right word. And or spawn mechanics of certain Pokemon. And I started remembering how certain Pokemon would spawn during certain events, or they need a certain circumstances to happen before you can find them. So, for example, let's say Pokemon Emerald, Kyogre and Groudon, you'd have to first find them, and then they disappear. They'd go all, you'd look for a drought on Route 126 or a whatever, a massive storm or whatever you want to call it, and they would be in these locations. But there were other Pokemon. I think one was named Feebas, which was one of the last Pokemon I ever caught because it took me so long to find it. And the thing about Feebas was you could only find it in one river, in one little tile. You had to fish it, and it was different for every single other game. So you couldn't look up where's Feebas and you would find it. And it also had to be raining. So I believe it was the river there. If any of you guys are familiar with Pokemon Emerald, I think it was like the Flying Gym. I forget its name. They have like, it's in a jungle area, and they have tree houses or whatever. And you would find it in that river. And I started thinking about this. What if Jagex added something like this to RuneScape? So they're creating this weather system. What if they tied that into new monsters, new spawns, etc.? Now, personally, I'm going to say this, some of you guys might not like this, but what if they also added this to the wilderness? They made these kind of bosses or rare monsters spawn in the wilderness during certain events. So if they wanted to go so far beyond it just raining or snowing, what if they went to like solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, that type of stuff, a meteor storm? If they added weather and weather events like that, or I guess that wouldn't be a weather event, that would be like an astronomical event, I believe would be the right term. But if they started adding these kind of rare type events that happen in real life, and they tied that in with a certain boss that would only spawn during these rare events and would only spawn in the wilderness, I believe that there's a certain aspect of that kind of, I have to hunt for this monster. And I'll kind of go in a little bit deeper because I thought a bit about how the mechanics would work. So this is just the outline. So this boss would spawn in the wilderness during these rare events, or if it was raining, it had a certain chance, and it would spawn. And I believe that even though PvP in the wilderness has a lot of trouble having things added to it, I believe that this has a chance to be added if they did a poll or something, depending on the way they worded the poll. So I'll explain that also. But I believe it definitely has a chance to get support from PVMers and skillers alike, which is, it's a rare chance for PvPers to actually get something that PVMers agree with also. So let me kind of, I'll explain the polling method first, what I meant by depending on how they worded it. So say Jagex did a poll of this, and they can say, they can kind of make it a multi-part poll. They can say, do you want, I'll call it dynamic weather bosses. Do you want dynamic weather bosses in RuneScape? Majority of players would say, yes, that sounds awesome. The next part of the poll says, now do you want them in the wilderness, yes or no? That part of the poll would definitely fail. No one would vote yes on that, besides PKers. However, if Jagex worded the poll like this, do you want dynamic weather bosses in the wilderness, and kind of explain what the dynamic weather bosses are, you'd get rare drops, etc. I believe that poll, it might not pass like 90% of RuneScape in agreement, but I believe they will definitely pass, because it would get PVMers thinking, and they'd be like, okay, it is in the wilderness, but if that's the only way I'm going to get this update, I'm going to go ahead and take that. So a lot of it depends on if this is all just a hypothetical situation, by the way. So a lot of it depends on how Jagex would word this poll. So, and I'm kind of hesitant on like saying they should word it like that, because that's kind of forcing PVMers and that etc. to go into the wilderness. But that's basically what Jagex is going to have to do in order to kind of bring new people into the wilderness, because the wilderness is fun. I remember, okay, so when I first recorded this video, the 46-minute video, I was kind of doing like, okay, mod Mark's boss, and then mod Pies, mod's Mark boss would win, etc. And I was like, oh, those are the only two mods I could think of. And I remember mods Osborne, and I explained why I liked mod Osborne so much, how he was so passionate about the game, and how he would do that really wide mouth kind of when he's explaining something. I'm sure if you guys seen it, you know what I mean. But I was looking up a video. I was trying to find a video to kind of show it because I didn't have any background clip because I ran out of background clips. And I found a video of Mod Osborne learning how to PK. Now, it wasn't ESC, but it was Legacy. And after he was explaining, after he had PK and explained to him basics of PK, he was like, so it really isn't as hard as what people normally think. And that's kind of what I've been saying, and that really stuck with me, that this Jagex mod, who never PK'd before, found PKing to be easier than what he thought. And now it was Legacy PKing, it wasn't ESC PKing, so it's not as heavy on mechanics and skill as ESC would have been, but it was PKing nonetheless. So if they force PVMers to choose for this update, and they get this update, and basically force them to go into the wilderness if they want to take part in this, then that could bring a new kind of PKers to the PvP community. So going back to, got sidetracked, goddamn. How to distract Shiz 101, get him talking about ideas he came up with. So let's go into this update, kind of how it would work if it ever got put in game. What have been my ideas on this? So kind of explain it. They're coming up with this weather system, and these bosses would rarely, it wouldn't spawn, so it's raining, that wouldn't guarantee a spawn, but it would guarantee that there's a chance for it to spawn. So say you go out looking for this, it's not going to be there all the time, but there's a chance it's going to be there. And Jagex could kind of influence this different ways. So if you guys know lava worms, when it spawns, there's a chat message that tells people, hey, a wilderness worm just spawned, and you can find it on the mini-map. In my personal opinion, if they added these kind of dynamic weather bosses, that should not be a portion, that should not be included, because my kind of thinking process here is, for this to be really fun, players need to go out and actually hunt for this boss. So take PvP Worlds, for example. That was my favorite part of PvP before it was removed. And basically, I would go on PvP Worlds, and I would just walk around for hours looking for people. I wouldn't always find them, but it was the hunt that gave so much pleasure to me. I mean, half the time I'd spend 2-3 hours, wouldn't find a single person, but it was the chance that I would find someone. It was the hunt, searching for a player. That's what gave me the excitement and the pleasure to PK back when PvP Worlds were a thing. And I think that rings true for a lot of aspects of RuneScape. It's more of the journey to this than to the kind of end game goal than the actual end game goal itself. And I believe that's pretty much why people max, etc. Because maxing doesn't give you a whole lot of bonuses, and after you do it, the game it dies a little bit because you don't have that journey anymore. So if Jagex kind of made these new bosses, these bosses that only spawn during certain times, you don't know when it's going to spawn. You have to go out and actually spend hours hunting for them. Maybe not hours, but maybe it's a solar eclipse and this boss spawns, and only one of these bosses spawns on every single world. So I kind of worded that badly, but there's only one of these bosses spawning, and it's only on one world in the wilderness. So there's basically, you have to hop around, search the wilderness, every single world, until you find this boss. And so that kind of gives it the rarity aspect. So And this kind of also ties into the rewards for this boss. So if Jagex went this route, and if they did add a boss and made it like this, they would have a lot of flexibility with the loot and the rewards. So basically, the rarer they made the boss to find, the rarer they can make the rewards. Or not rarer, but the more valuable they can make the rewards, because they're not adding a whole lot of wealth to the game. So, adding wealth to the game, Jagex hates to do this, and unfortunately, they've done this a shit ton. Primarily, they royally fucked up. No, not bashing Jagex or anything, but they royally fucked up with Bounty Hunter. So basically, now people can go on Bounty Hunter and get free money without any risk, which personally I think is or should be a ban. I don't want to piss any of you guys off, but personally, I think emblem farming or double logging and emblem farming, it should be bannable, because that's not what it was meant to be, and it's kind of adding so much wealth into the game. So, that being said, Jagex, if they made this boss rare enough and hard enough to find, they could make the boss more rewarding, in the sense that it takes this player this long to find this boss, and there's only one of these bosses on this world, or any world. There's no more of these bosses until it spawns again in another rare event or rare circumstance. So we can make this drop worth, a few mil if we wanted to, because there's not going to be mass farming of this boss. Now, going into the mass farming, I'm trying to set out my ideas without getting sidetracked every time I say a new thing. But going into like the farming, so lava strike worms, we'll give that as an example. So you have friends chats that basically 20, 30 plus players kill a lava strike worm in each, or not a lava strike worm, a wilderness worm. And every single one of those players typically gets about 200k per drop, some more, some less. So if you average that out, how much wealth is being added to the game per wilderness worm, if 20 people each get 200k drop each, that's a lot of wealth being added to the game. So if they make this kind of new boss, if they added this new boss, if they made it multiple people can attack that boss, however, only one person gets the loot, maybe the first person to find that boss or the person who does the most damage. Personally, I would kind of lean towards the most damage, because damage also affects risk. So looking at it from a PvP standpoint, you also, while you're adding some wealth to the game, not a whole lot, because only one person gets the loot, maybe the other players get kind of like a consolation prize, maybe a title, a cosmetic, or maybe it kind of unlocks a new quest or something like that. But if only one person gets this loot, people are going to be trying to get that loot badly, because it's a rare boss, rare event, rare loot, unique item drop, and so they're going to use the best gear they can in order to get that drop. So it also has the opportunity to remove some wealth from certain players, not remove wealth from the game, because it's PvP isn't a sync, it's just transferring wealth from one player to another player. But you definitely have a chance to distribute the wealth more between some of the newer PKers. A lot of the veteran PKers, not particularly myself, but a lot of the veteran PKers are pretty rich, and there's kind of a gap. I'm making this sound weird. I'm not like a RuneScape communist. Everyone should have their wealth distributed equally. But it would kind of help reiterate or reinforce the risk for reward aspect of the wilderness that has been severely lacking in recent years. So I believe and once again, the biggest part of this idea that I'm the most excited for is that it actually has a chance, because it's something PVMers can get behind, PKers can get behind, and maybe even skillers. Maybe one of the unique drops is a bracelet that gives increased experience or increased, task completion. Like, so you're mining and it takes you like 30 seconds to mine the ore, but if you're wearing this bracelet, it takes you 25 seconds, 20 seconds to mine the ore, something like that. So I believe it's definitely something that multiple types of players can get behind, which are the types of updates that RuneScape needs, because really updates kind of tend to tailor towards or kind of they kind of go for one player base. So either whether it be PVMers or PKers or skillers. And while it's true that each kind of faction gets an update and different people in each faction can take part in different updates, but there's some people who want updates that, like myself, updates that kind of enrich the environment. I'm gonna say enrich the environment, but basically make the wilderness better. If you're a PKer, we'll use that as an example. We haven't really had an update that really made the wilderness worth going into. I mean, they tried with revitalization of the wilderness to put like demonic skull, like I think it's 20% of the base experience you get added if you're wearing it for like Slayer. That's not worth it, because what person is going to go in the wilderness for 20% extra if they risk 500k each time? And half the time they're not even risking it in the first place, so that they're not going to survive if they're using no items in the demonic skull. I don't even really think anyone uses the demonic skull to train at the crater. So divination, for example. Occasionally you'll see people using it at abyssal demons or something like that, but you don't really find too many people there. And since they're kind of making RuneScape a safe place, removing you being able to skull people if they use a multi-attack ability, that's I hated that update very much. So while it was already hard to find risk, now it's even harder. It's almost non-existent to find people or kill people when they risk any significant amount. So they further remove the rewarding aspect of PvP in the wilderness. So they've got to come up with some update that will kind of add more reward to the wilderness. I mean, if you talk about demon bosses, Erosian demon bosses, they have increased drops in the wilderness, basically. But, so occasionally I'll solo those on the rare off chance I'll get like a title or something. But typically when I kill them, I get 200k loot for about, I don't know, solo time's probably 8 or 9 minutes, if that. Maybe it's a little bit longer, who knows. Maybe we'll just say 10 minutes, ballpark 10 minutes. Now, that's not worth it when you think you can go to like Chaos Elemental or something, and odds are you're going to get a 46k drop for like a minute of killing it, because it drops Chaos Runes really commonly. And personally, I think it's it's the best money making method in the wilderness. You got Lava Strike Worms, which I know have really good drops, but people PK at Lava Worms. People don't really PK at Chaos Elemental because, one, it's a multi-way combat area, and well, no one really besides me, and a few other people like Rexy, Shiznik, I'm probably pronouncing your name wrong. People like that. We're really the only common PKers. I mean, there's also Pio, but Pio, you can't really consider him a PKer, or Madmood or RNA a PKer. They just run. So they need to add something to the wilderness in order to kind of give it this kind of reward value. And they need to do it in a way that also brings new kind of PVMers, non-PKers into the wilderness. Excuse me. So why not do this in a way, you're already developing the weather system. Why not do it in a fun, interesting way that hasn't been seen yet in RuneScape? At least as far as my knowledge, there's no boss that only spawns during a rainstorm or a solar eclipse. Correct me if I'm wrong. But why not do it in a way that's never been seen before, that people are going to kind of stop and say, wow, you know what, I can actually get behind this. I may not take part in it, but because it's in the wilderness, but what if it goes really well in the wilderness? What if they start adding these bosses and these kind of unique circumstances elsewhere? So I believe that with this weather system, and part of me believes that this is kind of what Jagex had in mind in the first place. 'Cause I can't really think of any other reason why they would add a weather. I mean, I'm more of like a logical, if things don't provide something to me. So take my skills for example. If they're not going to help me PK, I'm not going to raise them. So I got 99 Herblore overloads, Supreme overloads. I'm getting 99 mining and 99 smithing. I already have 99 smithing because of the mining smithing rework. If you make your own armor now, they'll get bonuses to them or unique kind of aspects to them. So if it doesn't help me PK, I'm not going to train it. So using that kind of thought process, personally, I can't really find any reason for them to add a weather system that would kind of benefit the players. So besides if they kind of went down the road of adding these kind of unique scenarios where they can spawn certain monsters, maybe certain resources become available, something like that, which I'm partly thinking Jagex has in the back of their minds, because I mean it's not like this is some amazing idea that only a genius can come up with. This, I mean, you see this in other games, but it's not in RuneScape. So, and it goes really well in other games. It gives someone kind of like just consider it a treasure hunt. It makes them hunt for these rare events, and this is also something I believe completionists or people who are max or bank standards can get behind, because this is something that will take time and isn't a guarantee. So you can spend all this time looking for it, but you may not find it. So you spend 2 hours looking for it. You don't find it. Now you gotta spend another 2 hours looking for it the next day. Maybe even the next day after that. Or maybe you did find it, maybe you're like, damn, that was a lot of fun, this drop was really good, I'm gonna do that again. So this is also something that can kind of entertain people who don't really have anything else to do in the game. This is something that can kind of give them something to do while Jagex works on. And it also helps Jagex, because while people are hunting for these bosses, if you make it a little bit time consuming, they have time to develop or come up with more ideas or work on more developments, projects, programs, etc. So it kind of gets people off their back for a while. But that's just my idea. Dynamic weather bosses, I don't know. What do you guys think? If you guys have any feedback, yes, I like this. No, I don't like this. Yes, I like this, but how about this? No, I don't like this. Kill yourself, etc. Go ahead and let me know. Yeah, I think I'll upload this video before the leather pecan video, just because why not? I don't really have too many pecan videos available right now. I got like one legacy video, one EOC pecan, or two EOC pecan, one anchor video and one leather video, and then I have a legacy video ready. So I'll kind of save those. I'll give you guys this. And also, let me know what you guys think about this. I know I've been adding or uploading a lot of these kinds of ideas videos, talking videos. Let me know if you just want me to keep it towards pecan. I'll go ahead. I'll upload less of the ideas and the talking, and I'll upload more pecan. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys are having a spectacular day as always. I'll see you guys in the next one.